Hello, everyone. It's Matt Murray here at Wonders of Wildlife, National Museum and Aquarium. We're happy to have you here today as we continue our theme for April's at-home mission, Earth Day Awareness through Nature Photography. Along with our live stream, we also offer a really cool free virtual scavenger hunt app you can play right at home and a new activity guide each month. To download the app and explore all of this, go to www.wondersofwildlife.org/mission-conservation. That takes you to our Mission Conservation webpage. On this website, I will bring your attention down to the box that says, Get the app. Once you click download, that will take you to download the Agents of Discovery app, which you will need to play any mission conservation mission. Once you have that app downloaded, create a user account and log in. Hit the search bar and type in Mission Conservation. This is where all of our at-home missions will pop up for you to play. The last place that I'm going to bring your attention to on the website is Schedule of Missions and Activities. This tab will show you all the missions we have live, including the current mission, Earth Day Awareness through Nature Photography. Under this tab, you'll also find our activity guide that we have specifically made for your at-home. There will be a craft, an awesome outdoor activity, and something that you can do to promote Earth Day Awareness and nature photography. So I'm currently standing here at our Dogwood Canyon property located in Lampe, Missouri. Dogwood Canyon Nature Park is a 10,000-acre outdoor playground offering hiking, biking, wildlife tours, horseback riding, and trout fishing. You can also bring your cameras and do your own nature photography. Dogwood Canyon is a great example of the values of why Earth Day was created. Here to talk to us about some of the natural resources Earth Day was created to protect is Aubrey and Michaela, who are educators at Dogwood Canyon Nature Park. How are you doing today?
Hi, Matt. We're doing good. Thank you.
Good to hear. What do you have to talk to us about today?
We're really excited to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about natural resources. So I thought that I would kind of start by telling you guys a little bit about Dogwood Canyon. Matt did a good job of telling us about the basics. We are a 10,000-acre nature park located in Lampe, which is in southwest Missouri. And the park is actually so big that it dips down into Arkansas. So the property is pretty large. We only use a small portion of that for our daily activities. A lot of the property is actually untouched. So going back to our values on, conservation and preservation. So we use about 2,000 acres of it for our daily use. Promoting and protecting the natural environment is important to all of us here at Dogwood Canyon. Conservation education is also super important to us. Michaela and I are actually educators here in the Nature Center at Dogwood Canyon. So we get to spend our days talking about all kinds of super cool topics to our guests every day. We're really excited to be here to talk to you guys about natural resources today in honor of Earth Day, which is in 9 days. We're really fortunate to get to work here at Dogwood Canyon every day. We kind of take for granted the beautiful scenery that we get to look at. We get to see the beautiful forests and the streams that are on property every single day. We have guests come up to us often and say, wow, there's so many trees here. And we live here, we work here. It's just part of our daily lives, and we kind of forget how amazing it is until we leave the Ozarks and come back, and we're struck ourselves with how many trees and the beauty of the area. So we really are fortunate to have so many natural resources right here in our backyard. Today, we want to share with you guys a little bit about some of the benefits that these resources provide us and what we can do to protect them. So I thought maybe I should tell you what a natural resource is. That might be a new vocab word for some of you. So a natural resource is simply something found in nature that can be used by people. So anything that you find outside that we can use can be considered a natural resource. So let's take a minute and think about some things that you have maybe already used today that is a natural resource. So I woke up in my house that is made of wood. Have you used any natural resources today?
I drank coffee this morning. So that is a plant that is pollinated by wildlife.
I took a shower, you're welcome, in clean, fresh water. I also drove to work in my car, so that used gasoline. So this morning, Michaela and I have already used so many natural resources just in our morning routines. Today, we want to focus on 3 natural resources that we actually have here at Dogwood Canyon: water, plants, and wildlife. So Aubrey mentioned she took a shower this morning. I also brushed my teeth. I gave my dog some water. I filled my water bottle, and I rinsed my breakfast dishes out. All of those activities used water, and I did all of those things before 8 a.m. So you can see that water is pretty important in everybody's daily life. I'm sure that you guys have potentially used water this morning and maybe didn't even think about where that water came from. So earlier this week, we went out into the park and we got a closer look at maybe where some of that water has come from.
Water is one of the most obvious natural resources, and it is used multiple times every day. Whether you're drinking water, brushing your teeth, washing your dog, water can even be used to generate energy. Water is also something that we utilize without even thinking about it. On average, each person uses 80 to 100 gallons of water per day. Can you imagine using 80 to 100 gallons of milk in a day? That's crazy. Lucky for us, the earth is covered in water. In fact, 71% of the earth is covered in water. However, 97% of that water is salt water. So that leaves about 3% of fresh water. Fresh water is what we utilize every day. Here at Dogwood, we have 33 natural springs that feed into our stream. This stream water is the same water that will flow into Table Rock Lake and other local reservoirs and will be used as a freshwater source for many people in our surrounding area. This means that the same water that was once here at Dogwood could be used in Arkansas to cook dinner. If you don't have a stream in your backyard, how do you get water in your sink? Most tap water is going to come from groundwater that seeps through Earth's surface from surface water such as rivers, streams, and lakes. The Earth does a really good job of naturally filtering our water through the surface. Each layer of Earth serves in a filtration and removing dirt, debris, all the way down to microorganisms, which are very small living things that can make some people very sick. The Earth is a master at filtration. However, when we load the surface water with pollutants, it makes it really hard to filter that water. Water is susceptible to many forms of pollution due to its unique characteristics. It is known as a universal solvent, which basically means that many things can dissolve in water, just like Kool-Aid dissolves in water when you mix it up in your kitchen. This can lead to many things dissolving into our freshwater sources. It's important to remember water is not used only in our everyday lives, but for ecosystems. Water is a basic need for all living things, and it is up to us to work together and do our part to keep pollutants out of our water.
All right, so as you can see, we have a lot of clean water here at Dogwood, and we work really hard to keep that water clean. And we want to make sure that when it makes it downstream, whoever gets that water next gets to also enjoy some clean water. So in the video, I mentioned some different freshwater sources. So we have surface water, groundwater. Surface water is about 1% of our fresh water, and groundwater makes up about 30% of our fresh water. That sounds a little bit confusing, probably as just numbers, so I want to break that down a little bit for you. This here is that 1% of fresh water. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. That is our 1% of fresh water on the surface. And then this is about 30% of our fresh water that we have as groundwater. And then we have all of this leftover fresh water. So where do we think this water is? This water is actually frozen. So it's not frozen in ice like in your freezer, but it's frozen in giant glaciers. So this water is inaccessible, like we can't use this every day. So that small amount of water that we do have to use, we want to make sure that we keep that clean. We are all responsible in keeping that water clean because we want to remember that we all live downstream. So now that we've talked about water,
let's talk about something that actually utilizes water every day, just like us.
So plants is the next natural resource that we want to talk about. Plants grow all around us, from the weeds in the driveway to the crops in the fields. Like water, plants are essential to our everyday lives. So let's take a look at this video on plants to find out some more.
Hey guys, I am out in the park today surrounded by some of our beautiful Ozark landscapes. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about plants and how they are natural resources. Plants do a lot for us. Can you all think of anything that you have used plants for already today? I can think of something that you and I have both used plants for. Oxygen. Plants produce oxygen when they go through the process of photosynthesis, and we need oxygen to survive. So that's a huge one right off the bat, but they don't stop there. Another thing that plants do for us is to provide food. Now you might be thinking vegetables right about now, but let's think outside the box, because plants provide us with lots of other foods besides just those fresh fruits and veggies. Something that I'm thinking of is spices. Spices help our food taste better, and a lot of spices actually come from plants. So some of those are vanilla and pepper and ginger and cumin. They make our food taste good. Something else that comes from plants is sugar. I don't know about you guys, but I love my sweet treats. And sugar comes from sugar cane. So next time you open a candy bar, remember that part of that candy came from a plant. Grains, rice, and corn are another thing that is a plant that we eat. Sometimes we just eat it whole, and sometimes we actually grind those things up and use it to make other food like cereal and chips and tortillas and bread and noodles, all of which most of us eat every day. Now it doesn't just have to be solid food either. So we actually use plants to make drinks too, like tea and coffee, which could be part of your daily lives as well. So as you can see, it's not just those fruits and veggies. Plants make up about 80% of our daily diet. So you and I need to do our part to protect those plants so we have something to eat every day. Now, besides providing us with most of our food and oxygen, plants also provide us with so many of our daily materials. Now, if you think about it, our ancestors didn't have the modern technology that we have today. They made so much out of plants. Now, we have that modern technology, but we still make a lot of things out of plants. Some things that I'm thinking of are houses and buildings, clothes, paper, and even rubber comes from plants. So we still use so much plant material every single day. We need to protect that natural resource from being cut down and pesticides and other pests that can destroy them, because we do use them all the time. So do your part this spring. Plant a tree in your neighborhood, or maybe even plant some natural wildflowers in your backyard.
Did you know that cereal came from plants? Did not know that. Pretty crazy, right? So protecting our plants can mean a lot of different things. For some plants, that means that we harvest the fruits and veggies that come from the plants so they can continue to produce new for us. For some plants, that means to leave it alone so the population can regrow and we can utilize them in the future. But one thing that we can all do to protect plants is to keep the earth clean. So the plants rely on the earth just like we do. They get their nutrients and water from the ground, and they absorb all of the stuff that comes from the ground. And if we are putting pollutants into the ground, that could harm our plants. So keeping the earth clean is a huge step in protecting the plants that we have. Something else that we can all do is to plant a tree. Like I said in the video, plant a tree in your neighborhood or in your backyard or at your school. And it doesn't even have to be that big. You could do something as simple as planting native wildflowers this spring, and that is actually going to help our next natural resource, which is wildlife. Wildlife is kind of a category that we don't often look at as a natural resource. Wildlife might not be something that comes to mind when you think of a natural resource. So let's take a look at this other video from our friend Ashley to learn about how wildlife can be a natural resource.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley. I'm out here at the park today and we're going to be talking about wildlife. Now a lot of folks don't realize this, but wildlife are considered a natural resource. So we want to protect these critters just like we would any other resource. Now wildlife come in all shapes and sizes, so you may not have bears and wolves in your backyard, but you do have somebody else. You guys have insects. Now, insects play a very vital role in all ecosystems, whether it is they provide food for somebody else, they control pest populations, or they do something even more important. They are pollinators. Can you guys think of any pollinators that we might have? If you were thinking a bee, a butterfly, or a moth, you guys would be right. Now what happens when these guys are pollinators is that they go and collect nectar from a plant, and then as they're collecting the nectar, they are also collecting pollen. And pollen is then taken to the next plant of that species that they visit, and then they deposit the pollen, and that is how the plant reproduces. A lot of the plants that we eat rely on pollinators to reproduce. So even though some of them may scare us, like bees are sometimes scary, they are doing a very, very, very important job for us. Did you guys know that 35% of the world's food crops rely on animal pollination? That's a lot of plants. So we want to make sure that we're protecting these guys. Now, as springtime rolls around and we are, getting into springtime activities and we're starting to garden, keep in mind that native wildflowers are the best for our pollinators.
It's pretty crazy how something so small can be so important to our daily lives. So I actually have this riper mount here of butterflies and moths that I have collected from Dogwood Canyon property. So there are quite a few different species here on the riper mount. And these guys are oftentimes seen all the way from spring all the way through summer. And they are just out there bebopping around, pollinating like crazy at Dogwood Canyon and helping our plant population to continue to thrive. So not all wildlife is so small, obviously, and insects are not the only critters that are considered a natural resource. We use materials from animals every single day. Wool and leather are great examples of animal material that we use. Our clothes and blankets and ropes and saddles and footballs all come from wool and leather animal material from lots of different types of animals. Mink is something that have provided us with the technology to waterproof things. We get that from the oil that they put on their bodies to waterproof themselves. Fat from all kinds of animals is used in common household supplies like wax paper and crayons and paint and shaving cream. And of course, food. Animals provide us with food. Meat and milk and eggs are common items that all of us probably have in our fridge and freezer right now. So Earth sounds like it gives us so many things that we use every day without even realizing. So from the smallest of bees pollinating our food to the giant trees giving us clean oxygen, the flowing streams giving us clean water, and oil deposits that are deep below Earth's surface that we use to power our cars. That is a lot of things that we probably take for granted without even realizing it. So now that we have talked about these natural resources and their benefits, we want to encourage you guys to get outside. We want you to enjoy and notice these natural resources that are around you. But also while you're out there, we want to make sure that everybody is doing their part to take care of these natural resources and protect them. Picking up trash, as well as properly disposing of trash, is the biggest way that you guys can all help in protecting those natural resources. So I'm sure when you guys go outside, you've probably seen all kinds of things laying on the ground. So can you guys think of anything specific that you see all the time on the ground? This week, we went into the park and we collected some of the things that we found on the ground. And we want to talk to you guys a little bit about how long it takes for those things to decompose. So these things will be outside for a certain amount of time before they will ever leave. So we're going to start with a plastic or a paper bag. So this paper bag is one that we use in our gift shop, but it's the same material that maybe you would use to pack a lunch. So if you pack your lunch and you put it in your backpack and then you drop that bag or you don't put it back in your backpack when you leave, that paper bag is going to be on the ground for 30 days before it's going to go anywhere. So here at Dogwood, we give out these nifty little maps, and our guests carry them in their pocket or in their backpack. They might put them in the basket on their bike and they go down the trail. And we unfortunately pick up these maps all the time. And if it was left outside, it would be there for 5 months.
So I'm back to lunch. I like to eat chips with my lunch. So things like chips and crackers and cookies that come in those packages. If that's something you packed in your lunch or packed in your backpack as a snack and it didn't make it back into your backpack and it landed on the ground, if it were just left out there, these chip bags would be out there for 80 years.
Now she's got me thinking about lunch. So I don't drink soda, but our boss does. And this aluminum can, if left outside, would be out there for 90 years.
All right, so maybe not so much lunch related, but this is something I'm sure everybody sees outside, whether it's in the tree in front of your house or on the side of the highway. These are plastic bags. So something that people use all the time. I use these things in my house constantly. They are constantly found outside in the trees. So this bag is going to be outside for 105 years before it's going to be completely decomposed.
I'm still thinking about lunch, and I'm probably going to bring some type of utensil with me. So I've got a spoon. And if I was to accidentally leave this outside or not get it to a trash can, it would be outside for 150 years.
So speaking of plasticware, plastic straws. So Aubrey and I are guilty of using straws, but we love our silicone straws. So we use these reusable straws. But if you use a plastic straw and that ends up on the ground, these little bitty straws can be on the ground for 200 years. Plastic straws are also one of the leading pollutants in the oceans.
So like Michaela said, we drink lots of water. This is my water tank. And if I forget this at home, I'm probably not going to make it through the day without a drink of water. So I might have to go downstairs and buy a bottle of water, which is very convenient. But if this water bottle gets left outside and not disposed of properly, it could be outside for 450 years. It's a long time. Something else that is in that same time zone of 450 years is disposable masks, which is something that we have unfortunately been seeing so much of in the last year in parking lots and on the sides of roads. And, you know,
All right, everybody, it looks like we've lost connection here for a second, but we've got some things we want to talk about with you. So we've got Nature's Best Photography for this month that we're partnering with. And so Nature's Best Photography, let's see. Nature's Best Photography, you can find all of their web stuff on their website at Nature's Best Photography online. And you can see their web page. You can see their different galleries. Nature's Best Photography is a compilation of photographers, professionals, amateurs, all kinds of different people that put together these wonderful compilations of pictures, and they choose the best one out of them, and they put them in these galleries. So if you'd like to check them out, go to their website. They also provide Nature's Best Photography magazine, so you can check that out as well. So we're partnering with them this month to help with nature photography. So don't forget to check them out, and just remember, we all live downstream. We'll see if we can get them back here in a second. If not, all right, so we're just going to wrap things up here then. Looks like we have lost them and lost their connection. So we thank you for tuning in. We thank Aubrey and Michaela for joining us today and teaching us all about the general resources that we have to offer down at Dogwood, as well as some of the consequences of the pollution and the litter that happens if we don't properly dispose of our waste. So we appreciate them for doing that. We're sad to see that their connection was disconnected, but we thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you can tune in next week at 1 p.m. Central Time as we continue our theme for this month, wildlife or nature photography through Earth Day awareness. Thank you very much.